Welcome to my channel. My name is Spencer. I'm a software developer based in London. In this video, I'm going to talk about a topic of software development which has become quite a buzzword in the past few years: test-driven development, or TDD for short. It's always good to start with some definitions. TDD is still relatively quite a new topic, and there are quite a few definitions out there. In this video, I'm going to share the elegant definition offered by Uncle Bob, a sort of hero figure in the software development world, and for those who don't know, you can find out more about him at butunclebob.com. B-U-T. Without further ado, let's get started. Let me go ahead and read the definitions offered by Uncle Bob. 1. You are not allowed to write any production code unless it is to make a failing unit test pass. 2. You are not allowed to write any more of a unit test than is sufficient to fail, and compilation failures are failures. 3. You are not allowed to write any more production code than is sufficient to pass the one failing unit test. I want to make these 3 rules more memorable for you, so let me express them in a formulaic, more technically friendly way. So basically, rule number 1 says that if you are writing production code, it must mean that you are actually trying to make a failing unit test pass. So this is basically saying that code is divided into 2 categories: production and unit. Production code and unit code. And these rules dictate the order in which you can write them. Number 2 basically means that the amount of unit test code that you can write when you are in that mode must be less than or equal to the minimum that is needed for the failing test to be there. Number 3, so it basically means that the amount of production code that you can write when you are in that mode must be less than or equal to the amount of code that is needed to make the failing test pass. So to reiterate, 2 modes of writing code: production and unit test. Number 1 is about the order. Number 2 is about how much you can write when you're in each mode. Basically the bare minimum. So what are the implications? It means that you will always be compiling and executing code. So we should really be looking at test interval, i.e. the gap between test execution should be less than 10 minutes. And the ideal situation would be basically supposed to walk into a room full of developers, and each one of them will be able to say, "A minute ago, all code worked." So the style of when something that we coded didn't quite work as expected, it will be just a matter of Ctrl Z undoing rather than using the debugger. And we all know how horrendous it can be, the experience of debugging. So we will be constantly writing tests. So by the days, by the weeks, by the months, we actually build a big test suite. Many tests, hundreds if not thousands of tests. So what are the benefits? We will basically, with the extensive test suite, we have got something which is known as a living documentation. It's a documentation that we can interact with. Instead of the traditional style of documentation, which is in the written form, They are boring to read. They get pretty out of date quite soon. And sometimes not that many people actually read them, if any. We all know the benefits of tests, and actually writing tests after code can be quite boring. Well, most people find them quite boring and find it a very boring process. And also, if you write a test after you write the code, you may write the code in such a way that it is not so testable. So I think we all know the benefits of testing. And in the traditional way of writing the code first before writing the test, writing the test is actually quite boring for most people, for most developers. And if we write the test after we write the code might have been written in a way that is not so testable. So we'll be stuck actually. So maybe we have to refactor the code, or we just don't test certain code paths, which is bad. A lot of people who have actually tried TDD find it a very fun process. TDD is fun, writing tests is fun, making a test is fun, so you make the whole software development, writing code a much more enjoyable experience. So by definition, with TDD, we have 100% testability. So we will have much better decoupling, and so our design will actually be much better. Finally, we are writing code for the business to use. Finally, we're actually writing, after all, we are writing code for the business, for the users to use. And with TDD, all parties who understand it will be able to say the program works, and I'm sure about that because the extensive test suite is there and is constantly running. So enough of a sales pitch for TDD. I really invite you to try out, and here's the link to the article. Have a lovely day.